Right here, poppin' people of the internet, it is live from Vegas, and welcome to the ultimate controller settings guide for Apex Legends. We're out here in the firing range. We're going to be going over every single individual setting, telling you what they're about. I know there's 101 settings out here on YouTube, and truth be told, I've never watched a single one of them, because at the end of the day, settings are a personal preference. But recently, I have got into a little bit of settings because since the cross-platform update came out, I've been playing on controller, and my homie that plays on PC just switched to controller, and he was like, dude, you need to take a look at these settings. He asked me, he's like, you play on linear? And I was like, I don't even know what that means. But I've learned what linear means, and I'm going to share it with you guys here today, along with everything else you need to know. Trust me, you're going to understand how settings work after this game. You're going to be able to tune it exactly how you want so that you're not missing a single bullet. So let's just jump right into it. So one of the first settings I want to talk about is this right here, the side-to-side crouch spam. This is obviously one of the most effective things you can do in a firefight. Everyone knows this. If you're like high-tier pred, you're getting ducked and dodged on by sweaty wraiths like all the time. So if you want to know how to do this, if you're wondering like how so many people are good at crouching, there's actually two answers, and my answer is a little bit different from most and can work for everyone, and then the other one is just what most of the pros are doing, and I'll tell you how that works. So the first method is obviously to have an elite controller with bumpers. That's what all the pros are doing. When you see these guys crouch spamming, also they could be on PC, but if you see them just going crazy crouch spams all the time in a mid gunfight, it's because they're playing with an elite controller. And if you do have an elite controller, the setting that you want to change is you want to change your crouch button to hold, because then you just, press it for like a half second, and that's how you get your spam with the elite controller. You just hold that bumper. So that's pretty much how all the pros are doing it. Just exposed it for y'all here on YouTube. But I'm actually doing it a completely different way, and I'll break that down for anyone to do right now. And that it's simpler than you think. And it's the first option here on the controller layout. It's going to be your button layout. And you're going to want to run button puncher so that you can have your crouch on your stick. As you can see here, I play on Xbox, crouch on the stick. This is just something that I'm familiar with because in all FPS games I pretty much run this. Call of Duty, it's called tactical button layout. If you're not playing tactical on Call of Duty, like, you're messing up, man. You're messing up all your slides. The melee is not an important button. Sliding is obviously way bigger. If you want to have like good slide jumps like this, you gotta have that button puncher, and it's just so easy. Like when you're in a gunfight, you can aim and you can crouch on the same trigger. That's what I'm doing here. I'm clicking the stick. Mine's on toggle too, by the way, so you toggle, you just spam it a few times while you're crouching, and I'm telling you, this makes it almost impossible to hit. I've been playing Mirage. I mean, man, it's unreal. You just pop this, you know what I'm saying? You can even crouch spam with the P2020. Oh, I got no ammo. But you guys get the point. The crouch spam is probably the most important thing I could teach you guys here today. If you don't know anything about controller settings, please just run button puncher. You're not going to regret it. It's literally going to improve your game. You're going to be able to slide jump. You're going to be able to do everything that you want to do, like the pros on PC, like a 180 turn. So easy. Yeah, that's the first setting. Let's get into the actual sensitivities and whatnot. So another important thing you might want to rock is trigger dead zones on none. I think by default it has these on something, but go ahead and switch it to none. And basically what that means is that your trigger is just ultra sensitive. Like if you have it on moderate, that means you're gonna have to squeeze the trigger harder in order for it to start shooting. So have it on none so that you barely have to squeeze and you just start letting bullets fire. Easy little tip right there. Menu cursor speed, that's your little reticle here, your selector. Just do that whatever you want. I keep mine kind of slow because, I don't know, I'm used to low sensitivity stuff. I'm gonna overcompensate if I have it too high, so keep mine low. If you guys didn't know, a big misconception, sure people on PC play on high sensitivity, but everyone assumes that people on console are playing on these crazy cracked sense. No, that was really just a thing on like Call of Duty trick shotting, people playing on maxed out sensitivity. I think that kind of started dying out a few years ago. People that are pro are playing on low sense, like 5. You got to be playing on 5 or below, maybe even 6 or below. I think default's 3. I mean, if you're playing on 3 on controller, you're good, man. Like, when you're playing on controller, you want small movements. Like, as you can see too, you can adjust your, this is your yaw speed. You can adjust your turn speed separate. See how my up and down is slow and then my turn is like ultra fast. We'll get into all that in a second. You can have a pretty good sense, but I would recommend keeping it low. Like I said, like around 3 to 6. So, response curve. This is going to be the most important part that I just learned about, and it's definitely interesting. By default, you're going to be on classic, and there's nothing wrong with playing on classic. Like if you're just a casual, just play on classic. It's not going to do you wrong at all. The default settings in this game are actually very well built. I played on default literally all the way up until like about a week ago, so I've just learned about this linear, and I can't say it is just the tiniest bit better. Like honestly, it really doesn't make much of a difference, your response curves, but it is a change that I decided to make. So yeah, just run classic if you're casual, but if you just want to try something new, just go ahead and run linear. Do not run anything in between. The fine aim, high velocity, those are all bullshit. As you can see here, the linear, it even says recommended for an elite wireless controller. So if they're recommending it, you know what I'm saying, you might as well rock it. The dead zones, just keep them all small. But here, let's get into the real juice, which is the advanced look controls. What you want to do before you turn the advanced look controls on is make sure you have linear selected and make sure you have your sensitivity already selected, because it will lock those values in and then build from there. So lock those in and then we'll go. Right off top, the dead zone. As you can see here, you see the blue circle. This essentially is just like how much you have to move the stick for it to be picking up the movement. I'll keep mine pretty low. Like as you can see, the circle on screen pretty small. That way you can have the most detailed movements. I like to not move my finger too much, so keeping this low is good for me so that everything's just that much more precise. Next up, outer threshold, just go ahead and turn this all the way off. If you see these low ones, like those are just basically off, just all the way to the left. The response curve, now this right here is what I need each one of you to experiment with yourself. This is the most important setting in all of Apex right here. The response curve in the advanced custom controls. Go into the firing range and test this for yourself. Yours is going to be different from mine, I guarantee it. As you can see, this line, like right here, is kind of, I guess, the default line. And mine's even a little bit lower, which the lower value means it's a little bit more twitchy, and the higher value means that it's a little bit more slow and unresponsive. So kind of similar to a dead zone. Basically, this is like a more detailed sensitivity. Just think about it like that. This is your overall sensitivity, is your response curve. So linear by default will actually be a straight line. So I'm not going to change mine to show you because I'm not going to find the sweet spot, but this is the sweet spot for me. Please just play with your response curve. You'll notice when you'll start hitting more bullets. By the way, one thing I'll say is I always put a blue barrel and blue stock on my guns when I'm training in the firing range, just to have that realistic feel, you know, like you're not always going to have a purple or gold, so I just like to run blue just for the realistic training. And as you can see here, like we're just clipping 200s with the blue like it's nothing, and I'm telling you, it's because I've got my response curve like perfectly tuned. Like when you get it down to it, look how low my up and down sensitivity is. Very low. So like when you want to just start beaming like that right there, when you just want to hold like a perfect little shot, look at that, all in the circle, you know what I'm saying? This is what you want to tune your response curve. You want to get it so that it's just perfect for how your thumb drags, you know? You want to get them so that you're just beaming inside this middle white circle here, just like nothing, you know? I'm not really perfectly warmed up right here, so I'm missing a little bit, but as you can see, like, super easy once you get it tuned to just beam. So play with the response curve, please. As you can see, it's just easy melts. Everyone's going to be different. again, is here in the advanced look controls, right here. I'd recommend keeping it to the lower end though. You want it to be snappy, you know? Don't go above the default, that's for sure. Next up is the yaw speed, and this, again, the line is the default. As you can see, I have mine past the default, so even though my sense is on like 6 or 5, I believe it's on 5, I turned up the yaw speed just a little bit because I do like to be able to, you know, swing around. I think it's important to be able to spin pretty quick, so keep your yaw speed up. That's all subjective to everyone as well. Like, if you don't want higher sense, then don't roll with it, but I'd recommend just like right here in the middle, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to go any higher than that. Like, you want good speed, but you don't want to be like completely cracked, you know what I'm saying? Pitch speed, just go ahead and keep it on default. Like 3 is very good. Now keep in mind, this yaw speed and pitch speed is going to be only affected while you're unaimed. Your aim speed and everything is completely different. As you can see, this is significantly slower than this right here. So you got to adjust those values separately, and we'll get into that in a second. So keep your pitch speed on default. Easy, you know, I'm just laying it out for you guys. Yaw speed middle, pitch speed default, easy. That should be for anybody playing on console, to be honest. I know a lot of people don't run with this extra yaw. They'll turn this off actually in the ramp up time too. But what I did for myself personally is I keep the ramp up time low, so it ramps up very quick, and then I keep it at just a little bit above default, as you can see here, because sometimes, you know, you want your sense to be fast, but you don't want it to be like out of control. So I find that the extra yaw speed and just the acceleration of the turning essentially just lets you get that like extra boost to your turning that doesn't make it extreme, you know what I mean? I find that the acceleration just is a balance between cracked and steady, you know? So that's why I run that, and that's kind of a personal preference for me. Like, most people on YouTube would probably tell you just turn all that off, how I have it down here. Like on my aiming speed, you definitely want to turn all these extra things off, because, you know, you don't want to be affected by like an extreme type of movement when you're trying to aim, you know? So hopefully I'm explaining everything well. So yeah, take a look at the yaw and pitch, and then how that's affected on my ADS. Much slower. My ADS is just right on default, and then I would recommend for everybody to keep your pitch speed like half of default. Keep it relatively low. You could even go lower, and I'll tell you why. This is like a little bit of a no recoil hack. If you've made it this far into the video, congratulations, you figured out a secret. So as you can see there, it's just like, God, it's effortless if you're not strafing, but obviously when you're strafing it won't be that simple. But so that pitch speed is going to be your up and down, and as you can see, mine is like very slow. Like my side to side is okay, like that's 1 second between mountains, you know, but you want to keep this slow, and I'll tell you why. It's so that you can drag down on it hard. Like this is full drag right here for me, all the way down. It's so that you can full drag on the thumbstick to control the recoil, but then you can just like keep it chilled, you know what I mean? Because you turned your speed way down, so it's way less sensitive. So you can just drag as hard as you want. I find that this just makes it like when you're in a gunfight and you kind of panic, you're like, whoa, and you just want to beam, you're just going to pull that thumbstick, you know? You're not really thinking about like a perfect little movement. You're not like perfect twitch on the gods, you know what I'm saying? You're not Shroud. So I find that if you just turn your pitch speed like pretty low, man, it's like a little no recoil hack, because you have to like actually yank down on that stick to move it. So for me, that's just a little bit of a hack. Jeez, I can't speak. So for me, the pitch speed is definitely a no recoil hack. Like, just rip that stick down and it's just gonna stay dead center, as you can see. Again, just focus on keeping it in that little white dot if you can, and the pitch speed is definitely something you want to play with. So response curve, pitch speed, those two things go hand in hand. Again, the response curve up here at the top is the most important. If you have your response curve super sensitive, you know what I mean? And that's why you want to have your dead zone. Again, the blue circle in the middle small. These are precise movements. Have them perfectly tuned, like it was a nice Ferrari, you know what I mean? Individual settings, that's pretty much all we can cover today, guys. I mean, what you need to take away from this video is, if you don't have an elite controller, crouch spam with the stick. Keep your horizontal recoil pretty high, but keep your vertical extremely low. Get your response curves nice and snappy. And yeah, this has been Live from Vegas. I'll catch you guys online. Peace.